All right, so a career in law, huh? It's definitely a path that attracts a lot of people, and for good reason, I think. You get the chance to shape society, to be an advocate, and to like really dive into some pretty complex issues. But I've got to be honest, it can seem pretty daunting too, like trying to climb a mountain.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Whether you're thinking about law school or already buried in case books or just curious about how the legal system works, I think this deep dives for you.
Absolutely. What we've done is taken a really comprehensive guide for law students and boiled it down, trying to pull out those essential bits for you. Think of it like your shortcut to understanding what it really takes to not just get through, but actually thrive in this pretty demanding profession.
Yeah, and we want to make this journey a bit less mysterious, whether you're thinking about applying, currently in the thick of it, or just fascinated by the legal system. So let's get right to it. The foundation of everything, legal education. I guess the first big hurdle is choosing the right law school, which is a pretty huge decision, and it's easy to get caught up in those rankings, right?
Right.
But this guide suggests it's a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's way more than rankings. While a school's reputation is important and the faculty, those are big things, you need to be a lot more strategic when you're thinking about it. Like, what areas of law are you even interested in? Does this particular school have strong programs or those clinics in the areas that you're thinking about? And also, critically, what kind of real-world opportunities are there? Things that, like, bridge that gap between the books and actual practice.
So things like internships, externships.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are those numbers, those bar passage rates. You got to look at those.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought up bar passage rates. It's more than just, getting that license to practice, right?
Definitely. A school with consistently high bar passage rates often means their curriculum is seriously prepping those students, for the kind of deep thinking and the massive amount of information they'll have to deal with, not just for the exam, but out there in their careers too.
Yeah,
And it can also tell you something about the support system within the school, like do they have resources, mentorships, things like that, to really help students get through it all.
that makes a lot of sense.
So if you were in those shoes, picking a law school, what would matter most to you? Would it be the specific academic areas, the hands-on opportunities, or something else entirely? I mean, everyone's different.
Yeah, for me personally, I think those practical connections would be huge, seeing where graduates actually end up and how the school helps them get there.
Yeah, that's smart.
Okay, so let's say you made it through the applications. You're faced with this huge range of core
Oh,
subjects.
yeah,
I mean, this guide lists them out: constitutional law, criminal law, civil law, contract law, tort law, property law,
it's a lot.
corporate law, and international law. That's pretty comprehensive, right? I mean, it covers the whole legal landscape.
It really does. And what's so interesting is how these different areas, they all connect. They affect each other. It's not like separate boxes. Like, think of constitutional law as the base, right? It sets the ground rules, the limits of government power, which then shapes how everything else works.
Okay.
So criminal law, which is all about offenses against the state and what the punishments are, or civil law, that's about disputes between people or organizations, they all operate within that framework that the Constitution lays out.
It's like you need to understand the whole operating system before you can actually use the applications.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Right. And it's not just about knowing all those laws. This guide stresses that you also got to develop those crucial skills.
Oh, for sure.
Things like critical thinking and analysis, legal research and writing, oral advocacy, and can't forget this one, time management. Out of those, is there one that maybe surprises people as being super important?
We all see those courtroom dramas and think about oral advocacy, right?
Right.
But I think legal research and writing is often overlooked. It's really the bedrock of any strong legal argument. You need to be able to dig through case law, statutes, all of it, and then take that complex information and make it clear. Write those memos, briefs, contracts. It doesn't matter what field you go into. That ability to put your analysis into writing, it's essential.
Totally. How about for you? What do you see as the most challenging skill to master
That's a good one.
out of those?
Probably that legal research and writing, just
Yeah.
sifting through so much information and then structuring it in a way that makes sense. That's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you're juggling those core subjects, you're building these key skills. The guide then gives some practical tips for actually making it through law school.
The survival guide section.
Exactly. So it talks about active case reading, using the IRAC method, staying updated on legal developments, and those study groups. Do any of these stick out to you as particularly helpful?
I think a lot of people miss the active part of case reading.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about reading the facts and what happened. It's more about engaging with the material. Asking yourself, like, what were the key facts? What was the specific legal issue? How did the court reason through it? And what bigger principle did they establish? It's about understanding how they got there.
Right, yeah.
And the IRAC method, issue, rule, application, conclusion, it gives you a framework, a structure for analyzing any legal problem.
So for someone who's never heard of it, break that down a little.
Okay, so with IRAC, you're basically dissecting a legal question. You figure out the main issue, what's the rule that applies to it, how does that rule play out with the specific facts of the case, and then what's the conclusion you reach based on all of that.
That's super helpful.
And of course, staying up to date is huge. Law isn't set in stone. It's always changing with new cases and legislation.
For sure. Now, the guide also talks about getting that practical experience, which seems like a big part of it these days.
Oh yeah, absolutely crucial.
Things like internships, whether it's at a firm, a court, other organizations, those moot courts and mock trials,
Right.
and of course doing pro bono work. Sounds like law school is shifting more towards doing things, not just listening to lectures.
Yeah, it's about getting out there and doing it. These practical experiences are where you really see how it all works. Internships show you the day-to-day reality of different legal settings. Moot court and mock trials, those are great for building your advocacy skills, getting comfortable in a courtroom setting, even if it's just a simulation.
Right.
And pro bono work, that's a win-win. You're providing legal help to those who might not be able to afford it, and you get to apply what you've learned, in real situations. And it's also a great way to start building your network.
So it connects back to the bigger picture. These aren't just bullet points on your resume.
Right, exactly. They're actually shaping how you understand the law and your role in it.
Okay, and building on that idea of connections, the guide talks a lot about networking and mentorship. Connecting with professors, senior students, going to legal seminars and workshops, and getting involved with those bar associations. It's easy to just focus on your studies, but these relationships, they seem really important.
They're so crucial. Professors can give you amazing guidance, both with your studies and with your career. Senior students, they've been there. They can give you practical advice, tell you what to expect. Those seminars and workshops, they expose you to what's happening right now in the legal world, and you get to meet people who are actually practicing in different fields. And bar associations, they often have resources for career development, networking events, all that good stuff.
So it's about building your support system from the start.
Exactly.
Okay, last thing within law school, those exams.
Everyone's favorite topic.
The guide gives some advice. Regular review, working through past papers, and doing mock tests. Maybe not the most exciting stuff, but essential, right? Especially in such a high-stakes field.
Absolutely. Consistent review helps everything sink in, so you're not cramming at the last minute, which never really works.
Right.
Past papers, they help you get familiar with the types of questions they ask, the format. And mock tests, those are gold.
Yeah.
Because they simulate the real exam, help you with time management, and show you where you need to study more. It's about being strategic, not just knowing a lot of stuff.
Okay, so you've made it, you graduated. The guide then shifts gears to figuring out your career, giving advice for new grads, and what's striking is the sheer number of options. It's not just about being a trial lawyer. You have corporate lawyers, judges, legal consultants, public prosecutors, people in academia doing research, in-house counsel for companies, even careers in international law with organizations like the UN or the WTO.
Yeah. It's a pretty diverse field, much more than people realize.
So it's a lot broader than many people think going in.
Yeah, and what's really cool is how adaptable a legal education is. The skills you learn thinking critically, analyzing, communicating persuasively, those are valuable in a lot of different roles. You wouldn't even think some of them need a legal background.
That's a good point.
So for you listening, thinking about all these possibilities, what kind of impact do you want to make with your legal skills? What are you passionate about changing? That initial spark, it can really help you focus your career goals.
I love that, focusing on the impact you want to make. Now, the guide also talks about building a standout profile as you hit the job market.
Right.
It mentions highlighting internships, moot court successes, research you've done, specific skills like drafting contracts or negotiating, and even having a professional online presence like on LinkedIn. So it seems like employers are looking beyond just the degree itself.
Yeah, they want well-rounded people, not just someone who knows the law in theory. They want to see those practical skills, that professional attitude, your resume, your online profiles. Those are your first impression.
Right.
Show them that you've got those hands-on experiences, those specific skills, and that you can contribute to their organization right away, not just that you're good at school.
Okay, and then, of course, the interviews, which can be pretty intimidating.
Oh, for sure.
The guide says you should really research the firm or the organization, be ready to talk about important legal cases and principles, and showcase your problem-solving skills and how you analyze things. So it's not just what you know, but how you think on the spot.
Exactly. They're looking at how you approach these complex legal issues, how you explain your reasoning, how you connect the theory to real-world scenarios.
Right.
Knowing those landmark cases is important, shows you've got the basics, but they also want to see you think through a problem. That tells them more about your potentials as a lawyer.
And finally, the guide emphasizes that learning doesn't stop at graduation. In fact, it's just the beginning.
Oh yeah, law is a lifelong learning kind of profession.
It talks about continuing legal education, CLE, and mentions some specialized areas like arbitration, cyber law, and intellectual property law. So it's a field that really needs you to stay updated.
Definitely. The legal world is always changing. Society changes, technology changes, new legal decisions come out. Continuing legal education is how lawyers keep up with all that, and it's also how they develop expertise in specific areas. Specialization makes you more valuable as the legal world gets more complex.
Makes sense.
So thinking about all this, what areas of law pique your interest? What do you think you might want to learn more about, whether it's something we talked about today or something you've been curious about before?
So, wrapping up our deep dive into this guide for aspiring lawyers and those already on the path,
Right.
it's clear that a legal career, while challenging, offers a ton of opportunities for anyone who's passionate about justice, advocacy, and engaging with tough intellectual issues. It needs academic excellence, for sure, but also a commitment to keep learning and applying your knowledge.
For sure. I think the key takeaways from today are to build that solid academic base, get those practical experiences under your belt, build your network, and embrace the fact that you'll always be learning. That's how you build a fulfilling career in law.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, here's something for all of you to think about. A law degree opens up so many paths. You can shape public policy, protect people's rights, navigate the global economy, so much more.
A lot of ways to make a difference.
Exactly. So what problems are you most driven to solve? How could a legal background help you create meaningful change? We really encourage you to explore the fields of law that sparked your interest during this discussion.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.